Hi guys, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of Sermondo Talks. My name is Kristina and I'm here to introduce you to some of the smartest experts in the Amazon industry. If you've already subscribed to our channel, good job. If you're new to our channel and you'd like to get some industry insights, learn some valuable things that you can apply to your own Amazon business, and hear some interesting stories about entrepreneurship in general, make sure you subscribe to our channel now and hit that notification bell so you will never miss another episode again. My guest for you today is Stuart Conroy, founder of ACTIV8. Let's say hi and ask him a few questions. So guys, I'm here today with Stuart Conroy. He's the founder of ACTIV8 and based in the UK. Hi Stuart, so glad to have you here.
Good morning, nice to see you.
In one sentence, what is ACTIV8?
So we're a specialist agency helping brands succeed on multiple channels. So we help clients on Amazon, but as a part of a multi-channel structure. So it's getting them set up on Amazon, but hopefully we're interested in brands that want to scale. So often that means selling on different channels or into the high street.
So what exactly does that mean? What kind of services do you offer? Let's imagine I have a brand for kitchen and household goods and I want to sell online now and I come to your company. So how would the process look like?
So we go through a discovery process, understanding the vision of the founder, where they want to get I think too many times the founder's kind of ignored in some of the things. So we work out exactly what the vision of the company is and then execute a plan from there to understand what channels they should be on, identify any channel conflicts, and really the piece is to build the solid foundations from where they can grow, because we're in this ever-changing cycle of new channels. Instagram's going direct to checkout, YouTube the same. So again, we want to make sure that there's a vision of ultimately where their customers are, but also there's solid foundations from where they can scale.
And how many employees work at your company?
So full-time, we now have 13. And then we have a network of suppliers that we've built up over 20 years. Again, it's tailoring solutions for the brands, because I don't think there's any off-the-shelf solutions. And Amazon's a piece where it's important because that's where the customers are. So we're heavily focused on Amazon, but it's also understanding the other channels that offer that bit of risk management and the ability to scale.
Would you say it's a big mistake to solely focus on Amazon and not on other channels?
It depends on the aspirations. So I used to work in risk management in IT. So I've always been that side of all eggs in one basket can be a dangerous strategy. It's working for some brands or sellers more often. So I'm not saying it's the wrong strategy. It's just I'd always prefer, if you're going to scale a brand, to have that multifaceted approach that just gives a bit more breadth of where the customers are.
All right. And marketplaces differ from country to country, as you know. I mean, Walmart is not really a thing in Europe, or, okay, eBay is more worldwide, but there are just different marketplaces that work in some countries and in some not. So do you work with clients from all over the world, or are you specialized in EU marketplaces? How does your client base look like?
It's from all over the world. I mean, we started because we went on our own journey of selling phone cases. So a lot of that was global and selling into distributors and that sort of thing. So again, I think you just got to be agile for what's happening in the world. We're doing a lot of work now with the Alibaba platform as that's starting to scale, and they're changing their strategies there. So we have to be adapting to what the market needs. And again, if you're going to be a global brand, marketplaces is such an important feature of it.
And
but I think the thing that's,
sorry, besides marketplaces, do you think it's important for every brand to have their own website? And if yes, can you help with that?
Yes, I think it's important. And yes, we build websites for clients, but if there's a more complicated solution, then we'll find a more specialist partner to deliver that. I believe websites are where you have more conversations. It's that data capture piece that you can then, have better conversations with the clients ongoing, where that does get lost a little bit with Amazon. And I think, the piece around the Halo strategy, where if you're sending customers to your website, ultimately they'll go and check Amazon. But it also, we've seen it with a lot of brands where they've just launched on Amazon but not had a decent website themselves, and they've lost sales because of it. So it's difficult to launch a luxury brand, for example, on Amazon if you haven't got your own website, or there's that trust factor and people want to see you outside of just a marketplace.
What do you think makes a brand? So when you have a client and they didn't define their own brand yet, they didn't really position themselves on the market yet, how would you do the process of elaborating a brand together?
So again, we'll work with brand partners who are more specialists in that side. So we're very much an operations and a back-end system. The piece for me was like, we scaled very quickly as a company selling phone cases, but I always found out information about 6 months after it would have been useful. So I'm trying to be the company I needed 10 years ago. And, we have a team here that, we do a lot of the operations side, the marketplace side, but when it comes to branding, we send more clients to branding partners that we've got, or, to get that piece right in terms of how they look. Again, I believe founders love doing the branding, the product creation, they're salespeople, they're hustlers usually. And the whole piece with ACTIV8 is to stop them getting involved in the jobs that they're not fit for, that don't suit them. It's a very different psychometric makeup to a founder, and they usually make lousy operations people. I did. So I was the worst picker and packer of products. And that's the piece, we want to get them doing the high value work, not, everybody starts facing back into their business. And the key thing for me is understanding, what makes them tick and keep them, their energy is just so much more important if they're doing the right things in their business. And that's being close to the brand. And, they tell their story better than anybody else. And it tends to be, they outsource it to somebody to tell their story. And it's like, it's to me, it's just, I think it's why a lot of brands fail, because the brand owners stop doing what they enjoy. They are the hustlers. So, that's what I like, helping them and really being on the founder's side of the table.
So you said you're working with a lot of experts that are not direct employees of your agency. Besides your good network, what are other things that make your company special, and why should I choose ACTIV8 over other companies?
There's a lot of, I was talking to somebody this morning, I mean, some of these agencies are taking on, 200 brands a year. And it's not, I can't wait to read the book, how they're doing that and, keeping consistent service. But, that's their story. But so we're interested in brands that scale, and we understand that side of it from working with high street retail. I'm a big fan of Steve Dennis over in the US, who talks about harmonized retail and, just making sure the channels all match up. And really, we're not about selling services that we offer. It's about selling services that the founders need. So we have a whole of market sort of philosophy when it comes to, should they be in Magento, should be in Shopify, should they be on Amazon, eBay, all of these things. And it's just tailoring solution to what's right for them. And from there, we can help them scale and keep enjoying what they're doing. So that's the unique bit. I think that it's not a hard sell. It's just, building solid foundations for growth.
When you say you work with companies that really want to scale, I mean, this obviously costs a bit of money. Do you have any budget requirements, like a minimum budget that a client has to put on the table in order to work with you?
We also help with that. So we're finding funding for partners. And again, I always felt as a founder that, as soon as you had a bit of success, everybody was telling you, what money you needed or how they could help you. So, they have to be realistic, and when we started offering it more as a service provider, lots of those brands didn't have enough resource to scale. And you know, it's not possible if you haven't got a bit of money. But again, there's options out there for raising funds for the right brands, and a good business model. So again, these were things I found out. I was always bootstrapped and always have been, but there's all sorts of government funding. There's, you know, short-term loans. There's a whole variety. Again, there's more specialists than me to help with that, but we've helped a number of brands raise the funding that, you know, we can then execute their plan.
All right. And how does your pricing look like? Do you have like fixed packages, service packages, or do you speak individually to each client and then you both agree on a certain fee or a commission?
Yeah, so when we started doing the services, I wanted to be commission only. The challenge with that is that you're then also at the mercy of the entrepreneurs or the brands, and it didn't quite work out as we intended. So we have a retainer model with commissions for, you know, drives my team to achieve higher performance as well. So I think it's a win-win. And then we have launch packages. So, you know, if a brand is more in that startup phase, I've been there, so I understand the pain of some of it. So we can put a team on the side of them, and, you know, they often don't need as much money as they think if they use it wisely, and we can help them scale. And if we're getting that traction, then we can, you know, accelerate that through funding partners, or, you know, there's all sorts of equity or debt solutions for them.
Can you tell me 3 things that your clients say about your work?
I can actually. We did a customer survey not too long ago.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it's good to get feedback. You know, so if it was 3, it's trust. I think that's the biggest thing that we set out as one of our high values. Because we've sat at the other side of the table, it's easy to have these values of what we expect, you know, from a service provider. So trust would be 1, or 3, being put on the spot. Transparency, again, that ties in with the trust, and effective growth. So it's that whole, it's all around the honesty piece. So we'll always, you know, provide the data. We have analytics platforms. We partner with a company in the US called Glue, who have multi-channel expertise in analytics. And yeah, again, it's always putting that information back to the founder or the senior teams, so they can see that we're providing the services that they need and doing it efficiently, and they're scaling. And most clients that since we've switched to a service provider, have been with us through that duration. And we've seen some phenomenal growth in a lot of those brands.
Would you say you also try to have a personal relationship with the founders or the people you're working with that are your clients? So you're not just delegating all the tasks to your employees, but you also speak with them from time to time and, yeah, just let them know what's going on?
Yeah, my wife would say a little bit too much. Yes, I mean, I run a mentor program as well, just helping the founders. So I've been through that journey. So if I can avoid them, help them avoid the pitfalls of running a business, it's important. So yes, I probably do too much of it, but it's important, you know, and they need somebody they can trust and pick the phone up to and say, you know, this is happening. But, you know, I think that's throughout my team. You know, they all have a good relationship with the clients. You know, we benefit from their success. So again, we're looking at those win-win partnerships.
Yeah.
I probably need to be a little bit more disciplined at some of the times I take calls, but that's my part of being an entrepreneur, isn't it? So.
Yeah, definitely. Has it ever happened that a client was not happy with your work? And if yes, how did you handle that situation?
I'm not sure that they'd ever been, you know, because we've got a transparent pricing model that shows the work we put in, and the benefits, you know, that come from that. So we had one in the feedback that kind of annoyed me, purely because we tried to, I think a lot of brands ask the wrong questions. And, you know.
What do you mean by that?
I just see the failure rates that happen in e-commerce or Amazon sellers, and sometimes it's because they're just asking the wrong questions. And we had one brand that was selling into different countries, but not realizing their wholesale deal in one country was impacting what was happening on Amazon in another. And, you know, it happened to me 12 years ago, a company that we'd decided to go with to develop a market in a particular country, ended up putting all the products on Amazon USA. And this was like 12 years ago. So we had early lessons in, you know, needing eyes in the back of your head, and you've got to get the strategy right. So I felt a little aggrieved when they said they weren't happy with the work we did in terms of getting the performance on Amazon, purely because we couldn't compete with somebody who was undercutting us by 30%. So, you know, brands have to understand these days who's selling their products. And if you look at Nike going down from 30,000 retailers down to 40 key partners, you know, brands are now realizing they've got to know who's selling the product. And that's, again, the key thing for building brands. It's sometimes less is more.
I heard recently from several agencies that there are now so many different agencies and companies that are specialists at Amazon, that there's some sort of price dumping going on. So all the agencies offer their services for less and less, so they win the clients over. Do you face that problem as well, or would you say that your service quality just stands out and speaks for itself, that you don't really need to cut your prices that low?
We haven't had to cut them, but again, our margins spread across different services. So we're doing fulfillment, we're doing analytics, we're doing multi-channel introductions to high street. Again, a lot of it through other distributors, but I think that's the world over. You know, digital agencies, there was a lot of LinkedIn talk the other week about, you know, people can always do it cheaper.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. So, you know, we're not a fan of that. Again, as I say, you see these agencies that are taking on 200 accounts, and it's like, well, there can't be any quality there. And so we have a very good process of identifying brands that we want to work with. And once we've done that, there's no reason for us to cut our prices. And, you know, the clients will win from that because we're transparent and showing the value that we add to them.
The reason I ask, just to specify it for our listeners, is that it's really important not to only go by price, but also by the quality and reputation of an agency. Please keep that in mind, even if your budget is low. All right, now to my favorite part, the personal questions. Why did you decide to start your company?
I ran away. Basically, I was in IT and banking and in the corporate world, and realised it just wasn't a long-term vision of mine to stay in that sort of area, and didn't really know what I wanted to do. Just knew it wasn't that. So I'm not this one that, you know, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. But so when my contracts finished with IT, e-commerce, so this was 2000, and not many people were buying online at that time. E-commerce wasn't trusted. So we were just taking products out of the East End of London and putting them online, and learning about Google and PPC, and you know, seeing Google change over those years has been interesting as well. So all of these platforms have moved on, but yeah, it wasn't a sort of specific. I always wanted to sell phone cases. You know, it was, you know, phones didn't exist when I was a kid. So
What, really? You're like 30. How can that be?
Yeah, you win all the prizes. You win all the prizes. But, you know, I think the thing I'm fascinated by is business, and you know, that's been really exciting for me over the last 20 years to learn all those different pieces. And it's ever changing, and I think that's the bit. Again, I don't think you can sit still these days. The only thing that's certain is it's going to be uncertain what happens. So yeah, that's again why we run a small team and work with a network of partners as well, because it suits our ambition to scale ourselves.
I mean, it takes a lot of guts to say, okay, I'm going to quit my job. I'm pursuing my own e-commerce business full-time, or starting an agency. What were some of the challenges that you faced during that time?
When you've worked in a company like in the banks and stuff like that, everything's done for you. So that's the biggest thing, that you just don't realize what goes on. A bit like being a parent, you know, you don't realize what your parents do for you until you're a parent necessarily. But yeah, I think that there's the biggest challenge I see for founders now is that there's just so much noise out there. There's lots of advice, not always the right advice. There's always different opinions on you know, and I think that's the biggest challenge for many, that it's just navigating what's true. I don't, you know, when you see these adverts for people in front of Ferraris, you know, by the beach saying half an hour a day you can build FBA businesses, you know, we'd all love that. Yes. So, I mean, I was given a talk last year on it, and, you know, actually I think it is possible, but it's not easy. And it's something that, again, we aspire to have our founders do, is literally be out of the business so they can run it from anywhere. You know, this is reading books like from Michael Gerber to Tim Ferriss and all of these hyper efficiency books. But yeah, I mean, if I had my time again, I'd have read a lot more books early in my business journey. I was kind of late to that party, but yeah, some of those challenges, just the over information at times, and, you know, finding out who you can trust to help you scale.
And what excites you most about working in the e-commerce industry? I think it's very cool that you're not tired of it, even though you've been doing it for 20 years now.
I didn't say that. Yeah, no, I just think it's an exciting time, you know, in commerce in general. And, you know, there's so many things going on. So, you know, I've got one of those brains I like new and fresh all the time, which makes me, you know, not the ideal entrepreneur at times, which is, you know, well, I've got a team there that are far more, you know, process driven and diligent. I drive them crazy. But, you know, it's fascinating the way Instagram's going, the way Shopify fulfillment, you know, YouTube's now going to have a checkout, all of these things. So it's an ever moving piece. And yeah, it's a lot different to what it was 20 years ago. But I just, you know, it's an exciting part of the market, and I think we're going to see shift back to high street as well. I think a little bit more, but, you know, different to what it was before. So I think that's evolving rather than being dead.
And what do you like least about your job? I mean, there are a lot of drawbacks when working a classic 9 to 5 in the banking industry, but being an entrepreneur, of course, also has some drawbacks. You mentioned that your wife sometimes is not really happy that you have such a close relationship to your clients. Is time maybe a factor that you don't like, or are there any things that you don't like about your job?
Yeah, time is the, you know, because my whole, you know, ethos is helping brands or brand owners and key people, you know, save their time. And sometimes I've got to tell myself to do that as well. You know, the mobile phones meant that we can be online the whole time. So it's having that bit of discipline that's needed. But sometimes, you know, if we're going through a scaling period at the moment, so we work through the Christmas period this year, just to make sure that we're on top of what we're doing. But, you know, the last 3 years I've been overseas for Christmas. So, you know, it swings and roundabouts as the business needs, but there's not a perfect system. So we're always adapting ourselves to it. But there's nothing I really hate. You know, I was talking to Gareth, who's our head of business development, yesterday, and, you know, we're working with coffee companies, sports companies, all sorts of new tech companies. So if I like varied, so I couldn't have wished for more really as a business owner.
Is there any skill or characteristic that you wish you had, but you don't have right now?
Good question. I'm always trying to improve my speaking. So that's something that I came late to the party. I always sat behind a computer. I wasn't really, you know, in e-commerce, you can be stuck behind a computer and not really talking to too many people at times. So yeah, public speaking is the one that I'm working on at the moment. So I'm doing a few more events and getting out there, but yeah, whether you ever conquer that completely, but that's the one skill I'm striving to improve.
Are there any events planned for the near future where we can see you?
Yeah, we're just planning out. We're doing a few sort of private network ones. at the moment, working with other people in the industry and doing a cross sector sort of client sharing exercise, just to show, you know, trusted partners that we can pass them on to. So we're doing a bit more of that. You know, we will be at future events this year. We've been focusing more on the back end and making sure all these systems match up, and, you know, helping our clients. So that's been the focus up to now, which has got to the point, as I say, like working over Christmas, so that I'm now free to actually go and be a lazy CEO to a degree. I can go out there and
you earned it.
Well, you know, I've got a good team, so, you know, that's the thing. One of the most problematic jobs I think out there at the moment is the role of marketplace manager. And I just, I think brands underestimate, or companies underestimate, just the size of Amazon, for example. And, you know, it's one person comes in and they've got to be creative, or, you know, process driven, analytical, all of these different things. And I think that's a very difficult thing to get in one individual. And that's again why we have a team that have very varied skills that can work together to get that success.
If you could travel back in time and give yourself one advice besides reading more books, maybe, which one would it be?
I wish I'd listened to my first mentor a little bit more.
Who was your first mentor?
It was a chap called Steve Wickens. And yeah, I got that stubborn streak at times. And I think the things that he was telling me, you know, God repays us in different ways, doesn't he? So like when I'm mentoring other people and they're not quite listening to what I'm advising or stuff, you know, I think I get the same that I did to Steve. But sometimes you've got to learn your own pain points, and you know, everything he was trying to tell me. I listened to a lot of it, and you know, we had some success, you know, a lot of success from that side. But there was other things that I maybe should have listened to a little bit closer.
All right. So tip and advice for our listeners: if you have any mentor in your life, listen closely, and you might be able to not make some mistakes. If you could have any superpower, so not time traveling, but maybe like flying, which one would it be?
Probably right now it'd be invisibility, and just to see what goes on inside of Amazon at times. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, invisible would be good, wouldn't it? I think, just to go and see what's happening in some of these. Sometimes it's a bit of a black box in some of these organisations we work with, and it'd be. I'd like to be a fly on the wall and hear what's going on in Jeff and his team's heads, you know, to understand what the future is. But yeah, that would be advantageous, I'd say.
That was actually my next question. If you could walk into Jeff Bezos' office and ask him one thing or for one favor, what would it be?
Probably just to realize that customer centric means, you know, brand centric as well. You know, and I think in society we're in a danger if we don't look after the innovators and the founders. And, you know, it's not just Amazon. I think it's across, you know, Facebook Marketplace, eBay and stuff like that. You know, we've got to look after the founders and innovators a little bit more. And I think if we can do that, I don't think it's just Jeff's problem. I think there's the authorities, you know, need more awareness on that side. But that's the bit. Brand centric will actually lead to customer centric in the future.
I can use that as a quote if I ever write a book. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, that's fine. Just credit me.
All right. All right. If you could hire any famous person in the world, could be a celebrity or just from a business side, someone like Gary Vaynerchuk, who would that be and why?
Good question. I'm a big fan of Tony Robbins, and I know lots of people aren't, but I think, you know, I first read one of his books back in the 80s, so I'm a little bit older than 30. And I just think that the positivity and, you know, there's people like that are just helping other people and, you know, have a good drive. Scott Harrison as well from Charity Water. You know, those sort of people, I think, because there's a lot to give back and help other people. But I think Tony would get my team G'd up every morning and, on their bouncy trampolines and stuff. So, I think that would help.
All right. Then I'm already at my last question. If you had 1 minute and could speak to any Amazon seller and vendor in this world, which 3 tips would you give to them?
Research would be number one. Just take your time to research and find out. There's lots of good forums out there. There's lots of good information, but it's part of the entrepreneur's journey is to understand what's true and what's not. Sometimes it's trial and error on that side. So research would be 1. 2 would be patient. I think there's an appetite to get rich very quick. That's never changed over the years. It's just now it's amplified with the internet. And, there's that patience that's needed to see the opportunities and step away from the business at times from that side. And 3, enjoy the journey, because, I think that can be challenging at times. It can be overwhelming. I think there's people out there, there's so many good coaches out there, and sometimes you've got to find the right one. But, the whole point is we're enjoying the journey, and, when it's challenging, it's usually insight into something that we're doing wrong, or, we've got to find a better way of doing it. So, I probably didn't do enough of that when I was going through our rapid scaling process, because, you're just trying to cling on. But yeah, trying to enjoy the journey a little bit more.
I really like the last one. That's the first time someone said it on our podcast. All right. Is there anything? Sorry, again.
But that's what it's about to me. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I think, that is too many of them don't enjoy that journey, and there's pressure, from social media and stuff, and it's just, you've got to enjoy the ride.
Yeah, and I think people focus a lot on their errors and flaws, but if you just step back for a minute and reflect a little, I mean, it's insane what a lot of people are doing. Just having the guts to start their own business, start their own brand, that's a big thing, and people should be more proud of themselves, I think.
Yeah, and I also think that there's those that overthink it, so don't start at all. They're looking for perfection before they start anything, and it's like, you've got to take I say research, but and that's more, there's no experts out there. There's just laser focused learners, in my view, because there's new apps the whole time. There's new channels, so you'll never learn it all. So you've just got to take that leap and, don't risk it all necessarily, but just, take strategic steps at times. So.
All right. Is there anything else that you want to get out there, a shout out or some other things?
No, just, we're helping more and more brands. So we're here, we're on the end of the phone, the team are here. We're a little bit different to the other agencies, I feel, in terms of the multi-channel approach, but, here to help is the goal of ACTIV8.
All right. You all heard Stuart. Then we're at the end. Thank you so much for being on and answering all of my questions. It was a pleasure having you here.
Thanks very much. Lovely talking to you.
All right, guys, that's it for today. That was my interview with Stuart. If you have any questions for him or for me, simply leave your comment below this video. I also included some helpful links in the description where you can find out more about ACTIV8 and Sermondo.com. And now I want to know from you guys, did you ever hire an agency like Stuart's, or do you prefer to do everything on your own? Let us know, drop your comment below. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, you can do this now by either clicking the Sermondo globe somewhere here, or the red subscribe button somewhere here. And if you do so, I will see you guys next time.